This wasn't a prank, but when I was in kindergarten or elementary school, there was an old filled-in pond near where I lived. My friend and I slipped in through a gap in the barbed wire to play with the buried young sardines in the swampy bottom part of the pond. But my foot got sucked into the mud, and it terrified me, and my friend was already up to his knees in it a further distance away. I should have just called for an adult to help, but I was scared, so I pulled my foot out and ran all the way home. My friend went missing after that, and I remember all the adults running around like crazy. They never found him, and I remember the teacher gathering all us students together to explain what had happened. Thinking back on it now as an adult, I don't think anyone even suspected that he might have sunk into that old pond. The land in that area has since been redeveloped, so I don't even know where the old pond would be now. I never heard anything about them finding his body while they were moving and rebuilding things though. Maybe he's still down there. Sometimes I suddenly remember it and my heart starts beating wildly, even though this all happened over 30 years ago. This brief story was shared on Nichan on April 28, 2009, in a thread titled, "Sometimes elementary and junior high students play really awful pranks, huh?" All sorts of stories and anecdotes were shared in the thread, but for some users, this story in particular stood out. Many in the thread accused it of being fake, while others pointed out that the statute of limitations would have well passed by that point, so the user could go to the police without fear of arrest, although it would still cause quite the fuss. Others urged the poster to tell the family of what happened, even if it was 30 years ago, because they would no doubt want to know what happened to their son. In fact, the majority of users blamed the poster for abandoning his friend and somehow living his life all this time without ever telling anyone. The user posted under the handle Pelagonium, Kagoshima Prefecture. A quick search of his user ID also uncovered an earlier reply where he stated that he went to Taniyama Elementary School in Kagoshima. This was enough for posters in the thread to start digging, trying to uncover if there were any reports of a boy who went missing in Taniyama roughly 30 years prior. The user himself also continued replying in the thread, even mentioning that he tried searching through satellite photos to find the pond, and while it existed in older photos, now it was nothing more than a residential area. He even shared one such photo, and claimed that he could only find the pond in the 1974 photo of the area. Things got interesting when another user chimed in, claiming that they went to the same elementary school around the same time, and they'd never heard anything about a boy going missing. This user was apparently 5 years older than the poster, but he had a sister who would have been in the same grade. A nice reminder that the internet is never really as large as you think it is. The original poster then asked the man to ask his younger sister if she knew about a parent and child who died in a murder-suicide when they were in the 1st or 2nd grade. According to him, if she was unaware of that particular story, then there was no way she'd know anything about his friend going missing, a much smaller case. As users collated more information about the poster and his story, he quickly backpedaled, instead claiming that he had no doubt that his friend survived. In his post, he said they never found the boy, and the teacher gathered everyone around to explain what had happened. Yet he changed his story, claiming the boy must have pulled himself out of the mud after he ran, and he probably hid in the bushes, afraid his parents would get angry at him, before returning home later. This, of course, does little to explain why he apparently never saw his friend again. Yet, he clung to the fact that if the boy really had sunk fully into the mud, they would have found his bones when later rebuilding the area. He never saw any news of this, therefore, it mustn't have happened. And if they didn't find his bones, and that meant he didn't die there. In an attempt to explain why he never saw the boy again, as other users quickly pointed out, the poster then claimed that this wasn't a friend he played with every day, just someone he happened to run into on that day. More of an acquaintance than a friend. Someone he knew from the area but wasn't especially close with. His story slowly became more convoluted as other users pressed him on every tiny detail and jumped on even the smallest discrepancies, and in the end, the user grew annoyed and finished with the statement, "I believe that he returned home after that," and he never posted again. Yet, very little ever truly dies on Nichan, and Kagoshima Prefecture soon became a meme on the boards himself. On September 6, 2009, just a few months after he shared his story, a user posted news that a boy had drowned playing in a river, while his friend nearby remained unawares. "Kagoshima Prefecture, get over here," replied one user. "I absolutely thought Kagoshima Prefecture posted this," said another. "A Kagoshima Prefecture thread, huh?" said yet another. And yet another thread on the same news article saw more of the same. "Kagoshima Prefecture, get your ass over here." "Ah, it's the rebirth of Kagoshima Prefecture." "Oh yeah, there was a copy-paste, wasn't there? That one with the kid sinking into the swamp." But was it true? The original poster certainly shared enough information that users in the same thread immediately started digging, and even though certain nuances of the story changed as others pressured him for more details, the core of the story remained the same. When he was a boy, he went playing in a filled-in pond with another boy, and when that boy got his legs stuck in the mud, he ran off. Users had a rough date and a location. If a boy really did go missing around Taniyama in the 1970s, there would be evidence of it. Local newspapers at the very least would have reported on the disappearance of a small boy. One thing users quickly discovered was that this wasn't even the first time the user had shared the story. He had posted the same story almost word for word, roughly 6 months earlier, in another thread. In this one, he even gave the boy a name, Hirokazu-kun. In this post, he claimed it happened during kindergarten, and that it made both the news and local newspapers. Yet he was so young at the time that his memories of it were rather vague. It should be noted that he never claimed the boy died, only that he never saw him again after that day. Yet nobody was ever able to find evidence of a boy going missing from that area at that time. A search of local newspapers from 1970 onwards revealed absolutely nothing. Further questioning the credibility of this story is the fact that he mentioned all of the adults running around like crazy, trying to find the boy. The filled-in pond was an off-limits area. It's common procedure for police and search teams to check these areas thoroughly, particularly when a young child is involved. This involves draining ponds and lakes, and dredging through muddy swamps as well. If the young boy really had gotten sucked into the mud, his body would have been found. So, if we assume this story to be true, that leaves only one possibility. The boy really did get out. There was no body to find because the boy escaped and eventually returned home. But that, of course, brings us to the final question. Was the story even real to begin with? In recent years, rumors have sprung up that a similar story exists in a book written by Hirayama Yumeaki. Hirayama collects scary stories and urban legends, particularly from around the Tokyo area, and some people claim to have read a similar story in one of his many collections. Yet, no one can seem to remember where exactly, and it's also been pointed out that his stories are often based on famous internet creepypastas and urban legends. So if this was the case, it might actually be the other way around, and it was his story that was influenced by Kagoshima Prefecture's story instead. It's possible that this story is true. If we take his claims at face value, then this happened when he was only around 4 years old. The panic and fear of seeing another child get stuck in the mud might be something that sticks with you for a long time, while the other events surrounding it quickly become clouded with age. Other events may have mixed in with his memories, such as the teacher gathering the students to explain something to them. Perhaps the boy moved away shortly after that, again explaining why he never saw him again. There are a lot of possibilities, but being Nii-chan, we can't say for certain that it's not fake either. Perhaps it was a story the poster came up with on a whim, or perhaps something similar really did happen, but he embellished facts when he shared it on the internet. We'll likely never know. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.